Wow. I like when our show starts with laughter, you know? I really like that as a
It's always good.
As a tonal shift. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first of, I'm sure, many, brand new series titled the Cody Rhodes Roundtable, or as I said earlier on Twitter, the Codeman Chronicles, which may be better. Jeremy may need to work on that, I'm not sure. We actually have an all-star panel today, though, right? And there's a chance we have some interesting conversations. Speaking of such, I welcome the self-proclaimed Cody Rhodes stan, the great Stephen Jensen. How you doing, pal?
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here today, representing for the best wrestler ever from Marietta, Georgia, Cody Rhodes, celebrating title reign number 3 with the AEW TNT Championship belt. This thing is way too hot. That's that. What's up, y'all?
So I take it you're excited to be here then, okay.
I'm very excited to be here. This is the best show ever.
Agreed. SP3, you're the gentleman that accepted my request. I sent it out there to the wrestling world. I said, hey man, if you think this stuff kind of sucks, hit me up. There he was. SP3 came through. You fired up for tonight, bro? You fired up for this show?
I'll be honest here right off the bat. I didn't really accept it because I hate the stuff Cody is currently doing. It's because I hated Cody for so many years. And, the overall hatred from the community it's like riding a bike. If you hate someone and then everyone around you starts hating them, and it's just like, oh man, it's like a crack addict. I just had to get my fix and start hating on Cody Rhodes once again, and that's why I'm here.
Fair. This is off to an incredible start. Jeremy, you've taunted and mocked me for many months regarding Cody Rhodes. This is your big night. The floor is yours for a moment here, pal. Go ahead.
Joseph, did you know wrestling has more than one royal family?
I have heard that, yes.
Did you know that? I got my Nightmare Family jacket on, and I also, if I can get this hoodie off here.
Oh God!
Also got my Nightmare Family tattoo right there. There we go. We'll get a good look at that.
Wow!
Nothing but respect for that.
Wow. I feel like this show is going to be very different than what I imagined in my head.
Joseph thought we were going to do a real discussion, and here's Jensen in the Stardust costume, and myself.
Give me a couple of hours.
Family tattoo.
We'll get there. Okay, Jeremy, I don't know how much you can say, but let the people on the backstory to the bit that played it on the air, because I didn't know of it until Thursday, right? Tell them, because this is actually hilarious. Go ahead.
So the bit was, I said for months that Joseph was going to win, that Cody Rhodes was going to win the TNT Championship. Am I going to reveal my sources here? Is that what I'm going to do?
I've been told that he has himself revealed himself as a source, okay. So I feel like you can do it.
So our buddy Cassidy Haynes from Body Slam told me at All Out that the plan was for Cody to win the TNT Championship. He said Cody's going to return soon. Now keep in mind, All Out was a couple of weeks after Malachi squashed him. Yeah. And everything. He said the plan is for Cody to return soon. He returned if not that week, the week after. And then he said, and then the plan is for Cody to win the TNT Championship. So once I saw that Cody returned 2 weeks later, I was like, oh yeah, Cass has nailed this. So I have been championing and saying that Cody's going to win the TNT title based on Cass's scoop. And it came to fruition because our guy Cass is not wrong.
Because it is worth saying, and this isn't even me doing a bit, from the outside looking in, this came out of nowhere, right? They did the one angle with Sammy, they did the one on Rampage when he won the title. And so I want to set the table here a little bit. I know, we're going to have fun, obviously, and listen, you've seen our show, you know what we do here, but I think it's an interesting time to talk about this stuff. Clearly, this is not a show where we're going to come on here and do he's actually Triple H and he can go fuck himself. I actually like Cody Rhodes quite a bit. I think he's a very good professional wrestler. SP3 has just shared that he always hated the man, so maybe not. Maybe doesn't share that perspective. But I guess what I'm trying to say is this isn't us. This isn't going to be two sides screaming at each other with the extremes. One side might be a little bit extreme, but I'm not intending to bring it from the other side. Here's how we're gonna start this show. I want to go around the horn here and actually figure out where we're all at individually right now, as of this moment. I'll start to give you guys a sense of what I'm, the kind of picture I'm trying to paint here. Okay. I have kind of given up on thinking too much about Cody's long-term direction because it was a little bit all over the place, right? So to me, I was like, okay, I'm going to judge it segment by segment. So before I go any further, I thought the match with Sammy Guevara was awesome. Love the match. I have no complaints at the match. I think that the Andrade match, I said the same thing. The match was great. I can live with that on the show anytime. And more than that, I am very much open to ideas in terms of what is currently happening with this character, where it's going. Like, I'm not coming into this with like a closed off, I think it sucks. I genuinely don't know how I feel about it at this point. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no clue. So I'm open to ideas, and that's part of why we're doing this show. I think we can all agree, before we go any further, that there are payoffs that could make this whole thing incredible. Like, Cody putting over a young babyface could be big time for that babyface. I say, Jungle Boy, whoever comes to mind. But until that happens, my current stance is I am slightly uneasy. There's a lot of Cody's stuff has had like potential before kind of veering off the tracks, And like his last year, I think we can all agree he's a weird year. His 2021 was strange, right? You had the Shaq stuff, a Go-Go, QT, Malachi, all this stuff. So I'm a little bit uneasy, and that's where I'm currently. I'm a little bit confused as to where we're going here. That's me. SP3, where are you currently at on Cody Rhodes TNC champ?
I'm kind of closer to where you're at, where I'm waiting to see. And since they picked up on the fans not liking Cody, the stuff that Cody has done to play into that, the golden shovel, the going forgetting to go down the right entrance way, I've liked that type of stuff. To pull back the curtain a little bit, my feud with Cody dates back to 2017. 2017, it was a Ring of Honor event. I think it was their anniversary show in March of 2017. I was in the front row. I was giving high fives to everybody, 2 sweets to the Bullet Club members, and I tried to pull up a 2 sweet to Cody Rhodes, and he flipped me off. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. That's fine and dandy. Okay, great. But then he comes back over to me and flips me off again. One time was enough. When I put up the 2 sweet, that's okay. When I'm responding to my friends that you flipping me off and then you flip me off again, then I have an issue with you. So my feud, I've had a personal vendetta against him ever since then. I cued it back a little bit when I went to All In. He was responsible for that great event. I actually shook his hand and said, you know what? I booed you out the building of every city I've went to that I saw you in. Since you did that, but after this, I'm going to be all right with you. But this year and the confusing year that he had, first of all, he went against a Laker great in Shaquille O'Neal, so that's going to make me hate you. That's going to make me hate you. Then I have 2 beautiful biracial babies, and this man cut the promo about ending racism because he had 1 biracial baby. I'm going to take offense to that as well. So my hatred, the long storied hatred that is 4 years in the making has come out of me and poured out of me ever since then. But yeah, the catalyst for my hatred coming back out was the racism promo with Anthony Ogogo. I was amused, confused, and I was just like excited for the response of social media, and it was exactly what I expected. Everybody basically shitted on this promo, and then my hatred for Cody has been back. But like I said, what they've done the last couple of months to respond to the reaction has been good, but he's just been in a state of flux. He doesn't know if he's Triple H some weeks, if he's Jeff Jarrett another week, if he's Cody Rhodes, if he's Dusty's Rhodes. He was the American Dream this year. Like, he did not know who he was. He was going through an identity crisis. But now I feel like he kind of knows who he's going to be in the future.
That was incredible, wasn't it? You see the way I kind of like dipped my toes in the water and was like, SP3, what are you saying? He was like, well, I come in from a similar perspective as you. Anyway, here's my issue with Cody Rhodes. Let's talk about it. That was incredible. Jeremy, I sense you have a differing take. Again, that's now, bless SP3. That was, I don't expect you to match that in terms of content, But like, where are you at on Cody as of right now?
First off, read some super chats. Guys, send in your super chats. Give us some money. JJ says, waiting for Jeremy's victory lap. Hook rules. I don't need to take a victory lap. I was just already at the finish line waiting for everybody else to catch up. Jay Shell says, hi, guys. See you in the Codyverse tomorrow. Jay Shell is going to be on the AEW Dynamite preview with us tomorrow. And James Edward Smith says, title of the show, we're letting it play out. First off, SP3, he flipped you off. And also, Jay Shell says, SP3 is killing it, this rant, Reg style. Popping for it. First off, SP3, he flipped you off because you tried to too sweet him. And like that thing, that's Bullet Club stuff. He ain't about that.
He wasn't the Bullet Club.
He knew what he was doing. He knew that group was going by the wayside.
I specified this was 2017.
He knew it was going by the wayside. Cody has the vision. You don't see the vision.
Okay, I didn't want to say this, but he did too sweet someone else, and they were of the other complexion. So I'm just saying that's why all this racism promo stuff irritates me on another level. Because I wasn't going to say that.
You forced him there, Jeremy. That was your fault.
Yeah.
You pushed my hand. He did too sweet other people. And other people seem to be not me. And not me, and not people that represent me. So
how great is the idea of SP3 logging onto Twitter every day being like, I wish someone would ask if I don't like this Cody Rhodes stuff so I can just fucking blister this guy on a podcast. Anyway, Jeremy, you should probably leave that one alone. I feel like SP3 has claimed victory there. I think you're winning that debate.
Can't. Yeah. Forget I said anything. His long-term storytelling. He ended racism. He improved himself. You should be appreciative of that he's improved himself with this. Look, I love the Cody stuff. I thought it's been good for. There's some stuff that I haven't liked this year. In hindsight, let's be honest here. In hindsight, some of that might not have been a bad move. The promo, maybe not, but beating a go-go, maybe not a bad move. Getting the promo, we'll leave that alone. Some of the stuff has been a little bit weird, but the current stuff that he's doing has been tremendous. He's popping himself. That's what our show is all about, right? I can't hate a man that's going to go out there and use national television just to pop himself. Like, bless him. Bless what he's doing right now. I think it's great. I'm looking forward to the TNT title run. All two of his TNT title runs have been great. People have gotten over because of it. He's gotten talent signed. It's been good. Look, if we want to talk about TNT title runs and ending Sammy's reign, Sammy's stuff wasn't that good. Through no fault of his own. It just wasn't. And Sammy wasn't doing anything with the title. I believe in Cody that this will have the payoff that will make somebody and will be for the good of the Codyverse and AEW.
So you're trusting the process. That's fair.
Yes.
Stephen Jensen, or as you being framed tonight, the Cody Rhodes stam. Where are you at on this, pal?
Well, so my Cody Rhodes fandom goes back very far, and a lot of people probably know this. I got something here for everybody. Back in the day, look at this young man right there. See that guy in the back? That's a young Stephen Jensen in his high school. Wow. And look who's leading the troop. Look, Cody Rhodes right there in the front.
God, this is incredible.
I've been a Cody Rhodes fan since I was a freshman in high school. Back when he was in high school wrestling, I watched his whole career. I love what he's doing. I think that it's really funny watching people get really upset about Cody because he's playing all y'all like a fiddle. Like, this is very calculated what they're doing. Ever since the moment that they realized he was getting the booze he was getting, y'all think he's just doing tiger drivers for the fun of doing tiger drivers. Like, he's teasing you. He's trying to get y'all to talk about the pedigree. I mean, it's very clear what's going on here. So, and here's the other thing. I see people on Twitter that are like, I'm going to stop watching AEW because of this. If you stop watching AEW because of this one thing, and you're just going to ignore all the incredible other stuff that they're doing on that show, then that's on you. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm here for it. Cody consistently puts people over. He didn't put over Anthony Ogogo, and he shouldn't have. He's not ready for that kind of thing right now. He isn't. Sorry. But the people that he needed to put over, he has. And we've seen multiple instances of it. I know the big elephant in the room for most people is Hook. I'm the biggest Cody Rhodes fan in the world. But if Hook beat him for that title with like the buzz he has right now, I'm totally fine with it. Like, I think that there needs, I honestly think it's just one of those things where like they're manufacturing people's kind of outrage about all of this stuff. He's playing naive, like he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know why people are booing him, but he totally knows why people are booing him. So does the company. And I think, like Jeremy said, I'm trusting the process 100%. Like, whether it's Hook or Sammy winning it back or even like Sting getting it, then him passing it on to somebody else down the line or something. I mean, like it'll lead to something that'll put over someone of the next generation in their company. So I'm totally fine with everything going on.
So, Jeremy, do we have some super chats first? I don't want to transition before we. Let's hit those first.
James Edward Smith says, forget the Codyverse. What do you guys think about the Brandyverse that is brewing in the C shows? That's the real story.
That's another show for another day, bro.
I'll jump in real quick and say, not a Brandy fan. I'm the biggest Cody fan in the world. I'm not a Brandy fan. So I don't think it's one. I think you can not like Brandy, but like Cody and vice versa. I think that's totally. You don't always have to lump them in together with everything, I feel like.
Incredible comment. Yes, you're correct. Yes.
Dude, Reese, my man. I love that. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Don Callis of the Rhodes family.
That is the idea of Jensen on TV as his heel manager is incredible, man. You just carry around that picture everywhere you go. Like it's like
Just this one. I had to get up and take it off my wall just now. I got it over by my AEW action figures.
You know, like UFC back in the day when they have the banners behind the fighters and the intros. Yeah. You just did that. The corner of the rings.
My high school wrestling picture. Yeah. Oh, I can throw on my Letterman jacket if you want.
That's incredible. Okay, so this lock-in, because you'll reference it, I think it's interesting and worth talking about. This lock-in on this particular decision, right? Him beating Sammy Guevara. Jeremy said it, and I think we all agree, this is one of the weaker title reigns that AEW have had.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, this is just my take. I'm speaking for me only here. I think people are going a little too hard on Sammy. Like, you might not find him compelling as a babyface, but the people 100% are into that dude as a babyface.
Yes.
Like, his character may just be that he, like, what was the bit everyone kept saying? He sticks his tongue out. That's his whole character. The crowd is into all of his matches. They always cheer for him. Like, he has no issue being over. So, I personally think people are overstating his struggles. I think his main struggles have been with creative, not shining the light on him, efficiently. And the inner circle stuff, I think, hindered him in the full gear and that build up. So, I want to just say that much because I think some people are going a little too hard on poor Sammy, who, like, every one of his matches hit for me. I think it's just he didn't get an opportunity to make it what it could have been. However, I do think there is a real argument, and this is the one I'm going to give, and I think actually we're probably all going to agree on this. This is a more interesting direction. There is more a case right now with Cody of where is this going than if Sammy just dropped it to another kind of upper mid heel. I think this has a real intrigue to it, as like I have no clue what the plan is here. So, on that sense, I'm with the decision. I assume you guys are, Espy, where are you at on just the singular decision to have him beat Sammy Guevara? What do you think?
I like it, actually. I think it was the right decision. I think that a lot of people thought that kind of the big title change in this Cody story was going to be him going back on his promise and challenging for the AEW World Championship. But this is all about the slow burn. So you need stuff like this to happen to kind of progress the story a little bit. And he needed it. Like you said, he is an interesting character right now that a lot of people are into. And I also, like the pro Cody side, I also am very, hopeful that this will end with a young star being put over or a star in general being put over, because that's what his first two title runs did. His first title run put over Brody Lee and gave him the biggest push of his career. And then it made Darby Allin a star with his second reign. And he finally beat Cody Rhodes. And I think that's kind of the story that they're setting up with Sammy here. Sammy lost to Cody on the first ever episode of Dynamite, loses the TNT championship. Maybe they are creating that the big obstacle for Sammy to overcome wasn't really Miro, and it's really Cody. And that's the kind of the direction. I could see them going back to Sammy and him having a stronger title run if he's able to beat this new Cody character more than what he was able to do. And I think that for all of the positives you did say, yeah, Sammy is definitely over with the crowd. There's no question about that. But he's more over with the crowd for what he does in the ring, not for his character.
Agreed.
And that's the reason why he's in the conversation for the most lackluster AEW title reign in history, right there with Nyla Rose and SCU. I'm sorry, I love all of y'all, but those are the most lackluster AEW title reigns that there've been so far. And Sammy had the most potential out of those ones, and that's why I think it's more disappointing to people.
Before I'm going to throw this to you guys too, but it is worth noting, do not be surprised if Cody actually just turns around and drops this immediately to Scorpio Sky. Because Cody loves doing shit that makes people confuses people. Yeah. They've been building this Scorpio thing for the last few weeks, right? He towed up in the rankings 2 months ago. I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying this whole show, it's worth saying that because it could be rendered irrelevant if Scorpio just beats him at Battle of the Belts into it. It wouldn't shock me, right? I'm just saying. But anyway.
And you remember, people thought Scorpio was going to end his first run. He was the guy that got the shot before Brody Lee.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't expect it, but there's something to that. Jeremy, I think I know where you're at because you kind of referenced it, but just the singular decision of him winning the TNT title, thumbs up on that, right?
Yeah, thumbs up. And sort of a big picture thing is like, I don't think this end game for the whole character of Cody is like just dropping the TNT title to make someone like that. That's why I very much agree with your thought of that. He could easily lose this title at Battle of the Belts if they do a match or just on some type of upcoming Dynamite show. Because I think there is a bigger picture at play here than just Cody winning the TNT title. I think the decision to put the title on to Cody now is kind of for what you said, Joseph, is just like, it's just sort of more interesting if he has it, even if it is a smaller reign than what Sammy was doing with it. Again, this is no discredit to Sammy. He was having very good matches with a variety of opponents, but like he lost momentum coming out of the Inner Circle and Pinnacle feud. No fault of his own. They didn't really do right by him coming out of that feud. And then he just had kind of throw together matches, and it was very much a Cody light thing of like, oh cool, let's have matches, open challenge type thing. But no offense, no one really cared too much about Tony Nese and Jay Lethal coming in compared to Ricky Starks and Eddie Kingston coming in. So I think the decision to put the belt on Cody was to actually re-elevate that title. And so when the person who now gets it, and it could be Scorpio Sky, it could be somebody else, and I do think it is going to be sort of a short run, it'll be a bigger deal than just, oh, they beat Sammy. Cool, Sammy's reign wasn't all that great. Cody's reign might be short. At least Cody is an interesting character that he beat.
Unless we forget, the second reign was real short. So because he beat Brody in like mid-October and dropped that thing at Full Gear. Like he had it for like 3 weeks the second time. So it's very worth considering that. Jensen, I'm assuming you're on board with this. Where we've been on this thing. Like it was probably a good decision, right?
Yeah, like I agree with everything all y'all have said about all this stuff. Like, I think it'll probably be a shorter run. I think the main goal is to kind of re-elevate the title a little bit, and it is just a lot more interesting. Like, love him or hate him, the wrestling world's talking about Cody a lot more than most wrestlers, and it's kind of capitalizing on the situation at the same time. And then let's also not forget he can't challenge for the world title, and I think that's kind of what puts a lot of him. I think that's what puts him in a lot of the situations that fans don't necessarily love that Cody gets in. For instance, I think a lot of people thought he was kind of like above the feud with like QT Marshall and stuff like that kind of, you know what I mean? But it's like, well, he's got to do something on the show, but he can't be involved in the world title, and he can't really be involved with the people that are in the rankings going for the world title, because like he can't be like beating those people and they can't advance up the ranking. So like the quote unquote Codyverse is almost like out of necessity because he can't challenge for the world title. It really blocks a lot of things he can do on the show. So I think something that would really establish him as a heel, by the way, is if he got around that. Like if something happened where it's like he healed his way into like actually getting a title shot after promising for years he wouldn't accept a world title shot. But yeah, I guess, but at the end of the day, like I agree with everything that everyone has said about all this. So
it is worth saying too, like, I defended Sammy, and I'll stick to that. But there is a truth in Sammy's, I don't want to say inability, that seems too strong, but like the fact the open challenge deal didn't work the same way with Sammy it should tell you something about not just Cody, but Darby too, but especially Cody. Because I remember when Darby didn't do open challenges, but he was wrestling the main event a lot, right? And those matches got over and they felt a certain way. The reason, let's be fair, like to Cody here, it may not have been John Cena with the US title, but that was about as close as AEW could get. He was a top guy who, when you worked with him for 12 minutes to 15 minutes, you got elevated. Sammy just isn't that guy yet. And honestly, it's probably on the promotion for thinking he could be. Like, I enjoyed the match with Tony Nese and Lethal and Fish, but like, he isn't established like Cody was, so it didn't work the same way. So I think it's worth crediting, Cody for that, because it isn't just a coincidence, right? Like, the open challenge thing was big. It was good shit.
So, something I think that would have really helped Sammy, and maybe they go this direction soon, or maybe this would have been even better than the TNT title. And a lot of people may not agree, but like, I think that he would have benefited
a lot more or could benefit more in the future from like having a feud with Jericho. Because it's like there's so much history with that it's like if you beat Jericho clean, like Miro was built greatly, and like for Sammy to beat Miro, that was a big deal and it was really well done. But like I think it means a lot more for him to like finally beat this dude who he was like a sidekick of in this group and a tag team partner of, and like have some sort of like conclusion to that, and then maybe something bigger. But I feel like him beating Jericho is something that really needs to happen for his progression.
I personally think, we're talking about other stuff, but it's worth talking about, so I'm glad you said this. There was a point there in the summer where I felt Jungle Boy was ready to win that TNT title, and I thought Sammy kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, there was also the match with King, right, All Out, where it's like, man, Kingston could win the belt. Sammy just, it's not his fault, but like he came out of nowhere and it didn't feel quite right, did it, when he won that belt? So I agree with you. I think you're going to get that too, because I think Jericho is going to be a heel before long here, because he looks like he's doing something with Kingston, and I assume he would be the heel of that program. Seems like that's what Chris would want to do, imagining it here in my head. But yeah, I agree. I think that's something you're going to get next year, to be honest with you. It feels like a natural fit for Sammy. Go ahead, swing it. Sorry, I didn't want to cut him off.
No, I was going to say, I think Sammy Guevara, more than anything, is just a victim of the quality of the TNT championship reigns. Like, we haven't seen mid-card or quote-unquote mid-card champions booked the way the TNT champion has been booked. Like, Cody, with those open challenges, creating opportunities for Kingston and Starks. Brody Lee getting the biggest push of his career, winning the title. The dog collar match. Then Cody putting over Darby. Then Darby's reign, where he became like this ratings draw, and now people see Darby as an AEW world champion in the future. And then Miro, God's favorite champion. That run was probably as good or better than all the ones previously. And I feel like there was a section of the fans that like resented Sammy for beating Miro when Miro was on fire. Like, I understand the thinking that you want to end the title reign before it gets stale, but that was just getting going, honestly. Like the Miro run, like you said, the Kingston match was hot. Sammy kind of comes out of nowhere. I was under the understanding also that I thought Jungle Boy was going to be the guy to beat Miro, but I feel like the Sammy Guevara MJF match was the one that they were like, well, we got something here with Sammy. We just put him in a main event. He needs that next step up. He can't just be the second to Jericho or the second guy in a circle. He needs this big win at this point. So I think that's why they went in that direction. But at the end of the day, I feel like Sammy Guevara's title reign is going to be remembered the way it is because of all the championship runs before it.
It's that, and also, if we're being honest, the roster has gotten like almost outrageously good. Like, it's an all-star roster, and I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think it's a knock when I say this. I'm not convinced Sammy Guevara's got a world title reign ahead of him in this promotion. That isn't an insult. That's the reality of how they book their title reigns and how good that roster is. There's a lot of people ahead of him in the line for me personally. But, time will tell on that front. Jeremy, I believe we have some super chats before we move forward here.
Yeah, and I think this one is a good discussion to have from Ant, so I'm going to hold off on that one. Jay Blood said, all of this is tremendous. Working the core of the fan base and the punditry into a shoot for months has been a genius way of getting desired outcomes. Jay Blood also says, the open challenge didn't work for Sammy. He needed a good heel rival with over that the title works for a big star, giving young star shot.
There you go. That's perfect. Yeah.
James gave us a super chat. I don't know if this is his. He didn't leave a comment, so I'm just going to post his comment. It just says Nyla was just too early. She'd be a much better champion.
I agree.
I think she's a lot better now.
I agree.
In the beginning,
Yeah.
Chase says it's a win-win for AEW. Cody either puts over a babyface or becomes the best heel since 2014 Bautista. And Phantom FTW says clearly building to Cody hitting the pedigree.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be so awesome when that happens. Like, oh man.
I mean, if he's ever gonna go for the world title, you save that for the match where he does that, right?
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
There you go.
Jay Blood says, in my kind, the stipulation that Cody wouldn't ever challenge for the world title was the promise to one day break it for massive storyline returns.
Yeah.
Kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
Kylo says the Hooker Taker will no sell the pedigree like Warrior at WrestleMania 12 to win the TNT title.
That would be incredible.
That would actually be very
Just do
cool.
the match exactly.
Yeah.
He sold that Rikishi driver masterfully on Rampage.
And
so.
I love how upset people were. I was like Cartman with Scott Tenorman. I was drinking all the tears.
What about the no sell? No people were upset about the no sell.
Yeah.
The Rikishi driver that he just Hook rules.
Jay Blood left the same super chat. We appreciate it, buddy. If you would like a refund on one of those, let me know. Or if we can do something for you on that.
Contact someone else.
Yeah. Contact JJ. So here's Ant's question, and I think this can lead to another discussion. We good on the TNT title?
Yes, I got a couple more, but I'm called to divert here because we're at the end of that point. So go ahead.
Okay, so Ant says, who has Cody put over this year? Everyone, Penta Factory, Andrade, Malachi have come out of the other end worse. I'll turn it over to you on this one, Joseph.
Well, I think that's a very good super chat because it's a very relevant point here. And it's that conversation about losing and putting someone over.
Yep.
Right? So when he put over Brody
Lee,
Lee last summer, he truly put him over that night. That was like, in fact, no matter what happened in the dog collar match, Brody left that program a different wrestler. Right? It was incredible what happened there. It was magical stuff. I personally believe, and this could just be me, I'm talking myself here, the extra rematch in the Malachi feud and the Andrade part of it, I think extended that to a point where they almost undid the good work they did with that first match. Does that make sense? To me, it went on so long that by the end of it, it was kind of like Malachi had lost his steam. And unfortunately for him, in the time that all happened, CM Punk, Bryan Daniels, and Adam Cole came in, and it was like, now, I mean, Malachi's great. I love the match he had, that little match he had with Garrison last week. But he's feuding with the Varsity Blondes. Feuding's a strong word, but he's kicking the shit out of the Varsity Blondes. And he doesn't feel red hot because unfortunately it went on too long. The Andrade example is a great one where it's like Andrade beat him under such kind of nefarious means that it doesn't. So I think it's a fair question. Now, here's what I'll say to that. I personally do not believe that's a Cody Rhodes problem. I think Cody's willingness to put guys over is established, and I think it's real. I do think creatively they have kind of bungled the opportunities to capitalize on when he has put dudes over this year, though. And that's a slight concern as we head here into 2020. That's where I'm at personally. Jensen, what do you think?
I kind of feel like he beats most of the people that he should. I just think logic, because at the end of the day, whether you're a huge Cody fan or not, I mean, he's one of the most famous guys that they have. It'd be like if you're like a WWE fan, you're like, I hate Randy Orton. It's like they're not going to put Randy. They're always going to put Randy Orton in a good spot on the show. I mean, he's a massive star. So I don't know, because the Go-Go match, I'm very firm on. I thought the match was terrible and he shouldn't have won. Very simple. But the Malachi one, I bet if you were to ask Malachi Black himself right now how he feels about it, he'd say, thank you very much to Cody Rhodes for putting me in the position he's putting me in an AEW. Because he came in and he destroyed him in that first match. And granted, he lost later on, but you have to keep establishing Cody as one of these guys. You can't just go out there and lose to everybody that you like, because for him to it only matters if these people are losing occasionally in these kind of scenarios. You can't have Cody lose to all of your favorite wrestlers, because then it means nothing when someone beats Cody. It means nothing. And he's one of your biggest stars, whether you like him or not, and in outside of wrestling. When they get people like Shaq onto the show, for instance, SP3, that hit a nerve with him. But I bet a lot of that is on Cody and his relationship with a lot of people, and he's helping bring big names into the company. A lot of these people that are leading the WWE, Bryan Danielson and Cody used to ride in cars together in the WWE. You don't think Cody had a big hand in getting in his ear and telling him AEW is the place to be? I think Cody's doing so much stuff behind the scenes that him and Brandy sent Jesse Davin literal balloons and get well cards to her hospital. These are so it's one of those things where take all of that account and what he does for the company and what he means for the company, and that he's not just going to go out there and just lose to everybody all the time. But when he loses, I think it matters a lot when he takes those losses, and it helps elevate people. We've already mentioned, I know it wasn't this year, but Darby, that was huge for Darby. Brody Lee, that was huge for Brody Lee. These are people that 1,000,000% deserved those spots. Malachi Black, that was huge when he beat him. Andrade was a little bit different, but I also think Andrade is a little lower in the pecking order than Malachi, if I had to choose between the two. But that all said, it's just one of those things. I just really feel like he gets too much flack for quote unquote burying people, but he's beating people that I feel like he should be beating. So
yeah, I think anyone going with the like anyone honestly framing him as like a Jeff Jarrett is insane. And we all agree on that. Like,
yeah,
No,
totally.
not even close.
I sometimes, again, that's not even fair. We completely agree on a go-go.
Oh, MJF also, by the way. I don't want to forget that. MJF.
Yeah.
Right.
That's huge. MJF's the reason Cody can't challenge for the world title. Y'all should be thanking MJF if you don't like Cody.
I completely agree on the go-go thing. You can't, if a guy puts everyone over, then that has no effect. You nailed that. I think it's unfair of me to circle just the Malachi feud, because that is, when you actually sit and really think about it, that's the outlier. Because he did put him over, but for me, just the way it went on, I don't think it kind of limited the effect of it. Does that make sense? That's all. That's the only rule.
I agree. I see what you're saying, for sure.
I genuinely agree with you. And to be quite frank, I love Andrade, and he'd be higher on my personal depth chart. But I think he'd come out of the Cody program better than he went into it, because frankly, he wasn't doing anything when he went into it, right? So I can live with that one. I think it's probably, here's what I'll say. I think it's a more worthwhile conversation to have now than it was a year ago, where anyone saying that, it was like, dude, you're insane. Now it's like, it's been a weird enough year that I get why people are saying it, unless they're going as far as Jeff Jarrett, Triple H comparisons, which obviously we understand that's dumb. SP3, where are you at on this whole topic of Cody putting people over, the balance there, and all that good stuff?
I think he's done a good job of putting over the right people at the right time. Like, MJF's the first big win that he got in AEW was against Cody at Revolution. And I like the kind of juxtaposition that they kind of did with the EVPs. In the early days of AEW, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were taking losses to kind of put people over in the tag team division and in the singles division, while Cody was the one picking up wins to get ready for the main event of Full Gear and to get him established, so it meant something when MJF beat him. And then ever since the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega have turned it around, win the AEW World Tag Team titles, the World Championship, that's when Cody has kind of started to put people over. So I think that the people that compare him to Jeff Jarrett did not watch TNA during the early years, because I watch it and I rewatch a lot of channels that review it to this day, and there was nothing like the way Jeff Jarrett booked himself as a babyface and a heel during those early years of TNA. There's nothing like that. The next level below that is what Triple H did in the Reign of Terror, and Cody's not close to that, because MJF, Darby Allin, these guys wouldn't get over. Guys like Jungle Boy and Mark Quinn in matches against Cody just coming up short, but getting over in the loss. That didn't happen during Triple H's time. Like, Rob Van Dam didn't get over for losing to Triple H at Unforgiven 2002. Kane did not get over for the Katie Vick storyline. Like, we need to calm down these comparisons, or realize that these are over exaggerations, and it's okay to do over exaggerations. A lot of my promo at the start of this was an over exaggeration. I wasn't that upset, but it became a cool thing to do at every Ring of Honor show. Everybody's cheering for Cody. I'm gonna boo this motherfucker out the building. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I was at All In when Cody was the biggest hero in the world. When Nick Aldis put him in the Scorpion Deathlock, I was like, he's gonna tap. That's the move that he beat Sting with. Yeah, I knew you would have thought I was the biggest Magnus fan in the world, because I was just throwing out facts. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to kind of tame your criticisms of somebody. Cody is putting people over, but just this year, he has had a confusing direction. Yeah. You don't know where he's going. You didn't know what the Shaq feud was going to lead into. You didn't know what the Anthony Ogogo and Saving Racism was going to lead to. It led to a feud with QT Marshall, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it led into. And then, the Malachi Black, like Jeremy said, I think Jeremy put it the best, that it was just one match too many. The feud should have been done after Grand Slam. He lost to him in his return. Cody had that whole thing with Arn, and then Andrade should have been inserted in there, and he should have moved on to Andrade. Malachi Black should have been on his way with 2 wins over Cody, and I feel like that's the reason why people don't see him the same way they saw him after that first match.
You mentioned, as a comparison point, the Bucks and Kenny, and we all remember the many conversations about those guys putting over, underneath guys and like the whole thing of, you know, him going too long without an Angels and all that old shit, right? How much of this debate do you think is rooted in? Because I think that's a lot. How much is it rooted in the fact that in ring, Cody isn't as like undeniable as the Bucks and Kenny are? So what I mean by that is, I think Jensen was very, very accurate in when he laid out kind of like Cody has to be one of the top guys, right? Like he not only is he like he's one of the faces of the brand, he's a symbol of what the promotion stands for. He's actually pretty darn famous by AEW standards. He's a good promo. He has more than good enough matches. All of this stuff. But I think to the AEW fan base, the fact that his matches aren't like on that like tippy top tier, does that make sense? Like, he has great matches, but not like these matches that, you know, break the star rating scale and all that stuff. Do you think that's part of this conversation? The fact that like there's a portion of the fan base that doesn't feel like he earns his spot on that depth chart, that perhaps is a little bit blind to the stuff that Jensen laid out? Like, because let's be honest, that fan base, especially, they're very in-ring obsessed. And even though Cody's having really good matches, he isn't having the 6.5 star 40 minutes, right? Like, it's a different thing. Jeremy, do you think the same to that, Jeremy?
I agree with you of that, but like, let's be honest, Cody's having good matches,
right? Yeah,
like
100%.
It's not even. It's unfair to be like, oh, well, he's not having the matches that the Bucks and Omega are having. Like, this is arguably the best tag team of all time, and you know, one of the greatest in-ring performers of all time. Okay, he's not up to that standard, but there ain't really like Cody has some really good matches under his belt. It's a different style, it's a different pace and everything, but there aren't that many like, oh, that Cody match like really kind of sucked and everything type of stuff. So I just think that's just an unfair standard for him to be held to. I get why, like, I understand what you're saying, Joseph. You're not holding him to that standard.
No, we've actually talked. I remember last year, you and I talking in detail about this perception that he was like and then the bell rang guy, and it's like, brother, once upon a time, he'd have been the workhorse of a territory. He consistently has good matches. You don't have a TNT title reign like that if you're like one of those guys. That's just not, you know, but the standards are different. No, I completely agree. Sorry, Jeremy, carry on.
So yeah, like I think it's an unfair comparison to hold him to that. I do agree with you that there is some like truth to that, is people just don't see him as this work rate guy, and they're like, oh, Sammy Guevara has better matches, Darby has better matches, and all this kind of stuff. It's like Cody has really good matches, and his matches they are more rooted in story than just, okay, let me go out here and do cool stuff that pops the fans and whatnot. So I don't think it's a fair comparison to Cody to hold him to any type of that standard, when if you just look at Cody in a vacuum, it's like, hey, these matches are good. He's having more than perfectly acceptable wrestling matches on television and on pay-per-view. To real quickly on SP3's point, it was Joseph who said the Malachi did one match too many. I agree with that. I do think it was one too many, but I don't want to take credit for something Joseph did.
You're good. SP3, you got very fired up when I gave my star rating speech there, pal. Go ahead.
Because I was one of the presidents on social media of calling Cody the 3-star general back in when my feud and my hatred for him started. But at the end of the day, like, he is better here in AEW. Yeah. When you compare his AEW work to his ROH work, to his New Japan work, to his WWE work, it's the superior of his career. Like, the Dustin match is an all-time great. I don't care what anybody said. You could say Cody doesn't have the great matches of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, but when you run down the greatest matches in AEW history, you're going to have to mention Cody and Dustin. And a lot of people sleep on the Cody and Jericho match from Full Gear 2019. That was quality. Like Jeremy said, the TNT run. Joe, you've been saying all the great matches that he had. Jensen, you follow his career since the start, and I was a fan of Cody especially like during his time in WWE when he was like a mid-carder, and it just seemed like he had the glass ceiling above him. I was cheering for him just along with everybody else at the 2013 Money in the Bank when he was so close to winning that match before Damian Sandow beat him. So yes, I totally agree with Joe's point that Cody has been doing work for a long time. It's been well over a decade that he's been a great worker for a company. But yeah, there was a time that he was a 3-star general compared to all the ROH champions.
Yeah.
It's him and Dalton Castle and Xavier at the lower half for the quality of matches during their run. No offense to him, but Cody in AEW has been a vast improvement throughout his career.
Jensen, where are you at on this as a sort of wider topic, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with all that. I will say, like, one thing I think people really just need to remember when, like, you get really angry about Cody and you're breathing heavy into your keyboards, typing all caps at him, I think it's worth, like, remembering, like, AEW literally wouldn't exist without him. Like, it doesn't matter how good Kenny is. It doesn't matter how good the Bucks are. Without Cody being a part of that, this company, I promise you, does not exist. And he plays a very, very pivotal role in the whole process because he's bridging the old school, what he learned from his dad, from the territories, from WCW, from all these things. He bridges that generation with the current generation and what we see out of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and all that stuff. And I think it's a great balance. I think that's why AEW is so good, is because you get a wide variety of a whole lot of stuff. And I think Cody deserves a lot of credit for that kind of stuff. Because he's probably making a lot of those decisions backstage for certain things. We're mentioning a lot of his good matches. What about the moments? What about him hitting the throne with a sledgehammer? The place went nuts.
Yeah.
when he did the moonsault onto Wardlow off the cage.
Oh, hell yeah.
Went nuts. When he did the flaming table saw with Andrade, place went nuts. Like, he's out there doing stuff that's like, another thing is with, like, when comparisons to Kenny and stuff, like, in ring, Kenny Omega might be the best wrestler alive, maybe one of the best ever. And it's just one of those things where, like, I don't know. It's like, comparing the two directly is just, it just isn't fair for a lot of reasons, especially because Kenny, like, if you're going to be mad about the way Cody's been booked and he's an EVP, Kenny's an EVP, barely lost all last year, won multiple titles in multiple companies. Like,
that's
but
where
nobody's
I think
upset about it.
Yeah, that's where I think it is, man. I think, and look, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not sitting here saying, like, I've made it, like, I'm not as big a Cody fan as Jensen, obviously, because we didn't grow up together, and, you know, I wasn't his manager.
I'm admittedly biased.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
your handle is literally Cody Rhodes Stan.
Yeah, no, I wasn't saying. That's what it is. What I'm saying is, like, this is my genuine belief and my outlook on professional wrestling, especially for a national company. As long as your matches are getting over and they don't suck, if the rest of the stuff makes up the difference, I'm cool with it. You know, like, I don't sweat. I'll sit here and talk star ratings to you guys all day with being nerds. But, like, in terms of the grand scheme of wrestling, it isn't that important. Get the match over and it'll be cool, you know? So I'm firmly of the belief that Cody's work is not. I just think, you mentioned Kenny there and the fact that he won so much last year. This year, I firmly believe that to that audience, the fact that Cody is more comparable to the rest of the pack than a Kenny is why it's such a conversation. I don't think that's fair. I just think that's what it is, which is, you know, probably indicative of where wrestling's at now, for better and worse. That makes sense, right?
Like, basically, what you're saying is kind of like Kenny's such, like, an outlier. He's so much better than, like, Cody is closer to, like, the upper mid card level of, like, performers than, like, the main.
But then on the other hand, but Cody's better promo, right?
Yeah,
Cody's
I agree. Cody's a better promo, and he's we can't underestimate just the star power. I mean, like, he's like, you're in Atlanta, there's, like, literal billboards. It's like Cody on it, like, tune into TNT. Like, I mean, like, he's one of the most well-known guys in the whole company, especially when they were trying to establish themselves before they had all these stars from other places that are coming in. Like, he was one of the main focuses. And let's also not forget, y'all, way before it was the cool thing to leave the WWE and before there was an AEW and when you had to go out and grind the indies and just hope it went well for you and you could sell enough merch to support yourself, Cody quit the WWE before all these people did. Yep. Like, all the people that you want to see Cody lose to, he's the one who set the blueprint for all this and created a company for all of them to come to.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people resented CM Punk for not going the Cody Rhodes path. But one thing that you did say that really blew my mind, Jensen, is how Cody is really kind of like the transition point from, like, the old school to new school. For a lot of fans that turn on TNT, he's like the person that bridges the gap to, like, the WCW days in a lot of ways, along with, like, Tony Schiavone and Sting. And this may only pop Jensen because I don't know how well versed you guys are, but I realized, Jensen, when you said that Cody is Emma Nelson. AEW is WCW, the next generation. Tony Schiavone is Snake. Sting is Joey Jeremiah. So yes, there you go.
Yeah,
it blew my mind.
I'll return that by saying when you talk about Cody, it's like when we talk about Ashley Kerwin.
Also true. Also true.
Right,
Plug your Degrassi Dude show.
Plug it, SP3.
Right
Plug
now. It. Just do it.
Join us on the Fight Talk _ as well as True Hill Heat Twitch channels every Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Myself and Jensen on Degrassi Dudes, where we watch Degrassi: The Next Generation. But deadass, when he said that, I was like, oh wow, Cody is Emma Nelson. That's what the old school Degrassi fans watch Degrassi: The Next Generation because Emma Nelson was the daughter of an old character. That's basically Cody.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Jeremy, we just became guests on our own show, bro. That guy's bad. Okay, so I agree with that. Yeah, it is worth saying, to put a bow on the point you made about the transition stylistically. I don't know what Cody does and doesn't produce backstage. My sense is that a lot of the stuff I enjoy about AEW is probably some way rooted in Cody's taste, because he, like me, has a uncomfortable obsession with early 90s WCW, which I appreciate and admire. So I think you're absolutely correct. Listen, I've said it before. Double or Nothing, I was a big old hater going into that show, and Cody and Dustin was the match that he said to me, this might be something I could enjoy it. Because I'll be real, like, at that point in my fandom, I wasn't looking for PWG on TV. Like, it wasn't my stylistic preference. You know, I've grown to love that. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Spot on.
That's something just real quick, Joseph. Okay. Mentioning PWG. See, this, and I'm not saying I love PWG. I love a lot of the stuff I'm about to mention right now, so don't take this as me hating on these things, but I'm just throwing this out there. Without a Cody Rhodes, AEW, imagine what people would be tweeting on if they were watching on AEW on national television and they're throwing fake grenades at each other and wrestling in slow motion and like that kind of stuff that they do in PWG, that Cody's probably standing back going like, this is cool to do sometimes, but like let's not maybe do all, maybe we don't wrestle blow up dolls on national TV. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm once again, these are all things that entertain me as a fan. I love PWG, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, like, I think there's a lot of people that probably wouldn't want to see a lot of that stuff either. You know what I mean?
I mean, look, man, let's be completely honest. We're 2 years in and people still struggle to understand Orange Cassidy. So, I mean, God bless you. Right. I mean, Orange Cassidy is like just a straight up and down gimmick, and people are like, I don't get it. Don't understand it. No, like, I get you completely. Okay, now, a couple more things here before we go out here. Is Cody Rhodes a babyface, a heel, a tweener, or is he simply a babyface that's about to turn heel? I know my current read. Jeremy Lambert, what say you?
He's Cody Rhodes.
Okay, so that would basically he's the shades of grey, right?
I truly think he's a babyface, and I think that because he came out of the babyface tunnel, and the tunnels don't lie. Joseph. Okay. So whichever tunnel that he comes out of, that's what he is trying to portray on television. Now, but I think he is trying to portray that, but still getting the reaction he wants, if that makes sense.
So do you think he's a babyface that will remain as is because he's comfortable with the booze, or are you expecting a big turn down the line?
I am expecting a big turn. I do think there is going to be an actual big heel turn.
Okay. Stephen Jensen, what do you think?
I really don't know the best answer. I think what's happening currently is he's a babyface that knows he's getting booed. But he's at the end of the day, he's still a babyface. But I think once they get to a certain point with the stories and with the crowd reactions that he will, like Jeremy said, I think there will be a big heel turn unless something along the line happens that flips the crowd during this. Almost like a John Cena type thing where everyone booed him and then he did the US Open challenge and people were like, oh damn, Cena can actually go. Never mind. And people started cheering him, even though we were sick of him. There were certain things that could turn it around. Right. But I think at the end of the day, it's he's currently a babyface that will turn heel. Okay.
SP3, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought he was just an asshole, but I would say that he's he's a babyface who is playing a self-aware John Cena. Okay. So he fully is aware that the fans are booing him, but he is going against it and kind of acting delusional to why they're booing him. So I like this kind. He's playing a very three-dimensional character because no one in life is a babyface or a heel. It's shades of gray, and I like it.
I think we're all baby faces, but I understand what you're saying. So here's the reason I asked this. I'm very interested by this part of it because, as I've said, I kind of give up on the kind of broad strokes conversation because I don't really get a lot of it. I've been very honest about this, folks. I like my wrestling real simple. You know, give me a baby face, give me a heel, give me an angle, give me some blood. God bless with one. You know, that's me personally. I'm different. So I haven't paid a lot of attention to the dialogue and the discourse. But after Christmas Day, I wanted to read about it. I wanted to see what people thought about it. So I read a lot of stuff on Twitter and Reddit and all that good stuff. And what was interesting to me was there is a big portion of the Cody Rhodes fan base that is saying this is the final form. This is him as a heel. And the reason he's a heel is because of how kind of oblivious he is to the fact that people, you know what I'm saying? Like the idea that rather than waiting for the big turn, it's already happened. Now, I don't think that's wrong necessarily. Here is where I kind of am unsure of it. Him working Malachi and Andrade and ultimately beating those guys who were definitely heels, right? To me, makes that a little bit difficult to swallow. Now, that being said, the Sammy Guevara match, that makes perfect sense. This is where this is a big talking point that I'll personally, you guys can jump in on this wherever you want, but the big thing for me is how is he booked moving forward? Because if indeed he just goes and beats the Men of the Year as a clear-cut babyface that's getting booed, for me personally, I'm not particularly interested in that because I don't think those matches are going to have a lot of heat with the crowd. You know, I don't personally think so. If he starts working guys like Sammy, though, Jungle Boy, if he starts working beloved babyfaces like Kingston again, or, whoever, Hangman we talk about down the line for the world title, then he can be this character and be the heel without actually turning. Does that make sense? Because he's the less popular party. My biggest concern with the Shades of Grey stuff is if he works heels, I think you end up with those weird atmospheres like we kind of saw at Arthur Ashe. And I think it would be much worse for the Men of the Year, who frankly aren't nearly as over as a Malachi. But I mean, I love both of them, but they're not. Crowds aren't even going to cheer them, I don't think. So you're going to get an awkward vibe there. So that's me personally. Where are you at on that whole dynamic, Jensen? What do you think?
Yeah, it's because clearly going forward, it's going to be Scorpio and Ethan. We don't know what order they'll do it in. And maybe it'll be a triple threat that really stacks odds against Cody because it's kind of almost a handicap match. But I think it might almost be kind of like a litmus test that they're doing. If we put Cody, Lambert, and the Men of the Year in the ring together, do they cheer Cody because they really hate Lambert, or you know what I mean? I think they're kind of just testing the waters of what they can and can't do with this kind of stuff right now. Because at the end of the day, Cody's a made man. It could just be something where this just doesn't work out and they go a different direction or whatever. But I think it's smart to have him versus Scorpio and him versus Ethan though, because I think Scorpio, they've really kind of teased a big break for him for a while. He pinned Jericho really early on. That was a really big deal. We've talked about some of the other stuff on this episode. And then Ethan, I think, is one of the best pure heels in wrestling. And and when he really has a chance. That's the only thing I don't like about his teaming with Lambert is that Ethan's so good on the mic that he doesn't really need Lambert.
Absolutely.
But I love Dan Lambert. I know it's decisive or divisive. A lot of people don't, but I do like what he does on the show, basically just being a troll. But yeah, I think that's what's next, and I think they're just kind of testing the waters with kind of the range of what they can and can't do with Cody and the reactions he's getting right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. The idea of kind of figuring it out because it's such a weird dynamic they're trying to do here. SP3, what do you think about that kind of him already being a heel and this? How does this as a final form work? Where are you at on that kind of whole topic?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jensen that this is kind of them saying, all right, this is our last ditch effort to see if we could revert course and get this back on a babyface run. If he's going to get booed against Dan Lambert, there's no turning back.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
See,
I don't back in their promo segment with each other.
Oh, sorry. SP3 froze and skipped for a second. Yeah.
I don't think this is a final form at all. I don't think this is anywhere close to a final form. Honestly, I do agree that they might be testing stuff, and this is sort of a weird dynamic of, you're putting Cody in there with Scorpio and Ethan, and okay, is he going to get cheered? Because I think he is a babyface, but I think they know what they're doing very much with this dynamic, and that's why I do think that this could be a short reign, and it could just be Scorpio winning here in the next couple of weeks. I mean, I said it at the top of the show. They knew about this Cody thing. They planned this Cody thing since September. Okay, they knew that this title reign was coming at some point. Maybe they didn't know the kind of reaction Cody was going to get when he returned and everything, but the fact that they knew that they were going to do this and they stuck with it and they didn't reverse course kind of makes me believe they have something figured out of what they're going to do with everything. I do think the dynamic could be off with Scorpio again and Ethan against Cody. Clearly, they're trying to get him some type of cheers with him against Dan Lambert, and that's why I think he is a babyface. Cody is, I don't know if you guys saw the Sammy Guevara vlog today. I thought that was just tremendous.
Great. It was great.
The end of it. But I think they know where they're going with this, and I don't think we're like really even close to this final form of what we're gonna see with Cody.
I think he's just a really delusional babyface right now. Is like kind of how it is. Like he's a babyface and he's doing what he's doing, and he's slipping up here and there, calling Sammy kid and almost going through the wrong ramp and all this stuff. But like he's just kind of delusional. Like I think he's gonna show up with like a spinner TNT title belt or something.
Oh,
and no, like seriously, and he's gonna think it's really cool. And but he's gonna be getting booed and be like, why is people like this is a cool belt? Like, but he's not gonna put it together that way, like it reminds people of John Cena and stuff. Like I think he's gonna do trollish type things, but like be really delusional about it.
And in that case, the idea of him dropping it quick is almost even more makes sense, right? Because it could be a plot device in his whole arc. So I think you're right. I'll just say for myself, I definitely think there's something interesting to playing around with the babyface and heel dynamic. And Cody has talked about this a lot. Years back, he famously said there's no babyface and heels anymore, right? And, I'm a little bit cautious in terms of what you guys pitched is awesome to me. But the alternative that other folks are into, and if they're into it, that's fine. We all like different stuff. But the idea of him just kind of being this forever isn't really, to me personally, particularly appealing. The big thing that I think they need to nail down here in the coming months is like, why is Cody Rhodes being booed in an on-screen one? We know why in our like weird bubble, right? But like, I read a lot of people's takes that this character was meta in the sense that like he's being booed because he's holding these guys down, right? Like that's why he does the pedigree tease. And I'll just be completely honest, that isn't interesting to me. That's too inside baseball for me personally. Now, if he if he kicks the shit out of a babyface and does something dastardly, I can get into that. Does that make sense? Like, just for me personally, I'm a little bit cautious of how inside baseball gets. The golden shovel as a pop is fine. The pedigree tease is hilarious. I'm a little bit nervous about how far they go with that. Is my one thing. What Jensen pitched, I love. And, Jeremy, what you guys mapped out, like, I'm a little bit uneasy with that part, but does that make like it's a little bit inside baseball for me, which isn't always my favorite. And am I alone on that, guys? What do you think?
I mean, I personally love it all, but like I could understand like not getting it, like if it is too inside baseball for some people, but like I think for like us, because that's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to really they're not throwing out a net the same way like the WWE does and trying to like appeal to like a super large demographic, but it's like they know that there's fans like us out there that do pay attention to this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So personally I really like it, and like we've said before, I think when he does hit that pedigree, like place is gonna go nuts.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it can be a slippery slope is my take, because you can overthink that stuff, as we've seen many times through recent history. You can get lost in the idea of a worked shoot and what you're doing there. I don't think Cody's really come close to it yet, but when I read some of the people that are really in on it, I got the sense that maybe this is a stylistic thing. Jeremy, what do you think? Where are you on this?
See, like I said, kind of near the top is like he's just popping himself on national TV, and that pops me. And I don't think he's going like full bore with everything and doing like, oh, let's rip up scripts and everything. Like they're not formatting whole feuds and everything around.
Right.
Okay, Cody knows that Cody is doing his own thing and just appealing to just the smarks and whatnot. I mean, AEW's fan base is very hardcore as it is.
For sure.
They appeal to that fan base by design, and Cody is just doing like small. Can't even call them Easter eggs. They're very much in front of you. He's throwing the Easter eggs at you with what he's doing here. You don't have to search for him at all. But that's pretty much what he's doing with this stuff. Now, if he does get into kind of crafting this whole thing of, okay, let's rip up the scripts, I'm shooting brother type of thing, then I'll have sort of an issue with it. But that's right fair. Now with the golden shovel, lean in, let me go, let me accidentally turn towards the heel tunnel type of thing. Like I'm fine with that stuff.
Basically, and I think this is probably everyone's take, this is what you probably put perfect there, Jeremy. And you've explained it to me in my own head, okay? We're fine with nods that only pop us.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't become the whole narrative. Right. Is that a good way of putting it? SP3, what do you think? Is that probably the best way of looking at it?
Yeah, I like the little nods that if you're paying attention, it's great. I think that if he goes into that direction, it's too like heavy-handed, and it comes across like a lot of WWE stuff. And I feel like I feel like this moment with him winning the TNT championship was the first bit of progression in this story, since they really have acknowledged that Cody is being booed. It's very much unlike when babyfaces fail in WWE. They kind of ride it out and keep riding it and keep riding it and keep riding it. The announcers might say something like, we're in Bizarro World, but they never make it a part of that character. It was never a part of John Cena's character that he was divisive until very much it was already the kind of the thing. And then with Roman Reigns, he never really acknowledged it until he beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania 33. And even then, that was only a one-night thing, and then he moved on and forgot to acknowledge it. Cody is acknowledging it on a weekly basis. That's why I'm digging this, and that's why I like this move to put the TNT championship on him, because now the spotlight is firmly on him, and now people that might not have caught the sledgehammer being pulled out from under the ring, the golden shovel, the folding of the arms, and how he hesitates when he does it to make you think he's going to do a pedigree before he does the tiger driver. All those things we get because we're the hardcore fans, but the people that are of the anti-AEW community or casual fans won't get that type of stuff. All they see is a babyface that's failing.
Right. It's definitely, I think it's worth saying there is many versions of this that are objectively like fascinating, right? And so that's why I think if you guys came on this video expecting like SP3 and I to be like, we hate it, I'm genuinely letting it play out here. And we all dunk on let it play out because frankly it's used in a circumstance where you should not let it play out. I mean, we all actually kind of trust AEW to figure this out and to understand where they're going with it. And that's why, I am letting it play out. I've said just about what I need to say. Jeremy, Jensen, SP3, any final comments on the first ever Cody Rhodes Roundtable?
Well,
I'll say, go ahead, Jeremy.
I've kind of said everything, but I do want to ask just kind of like one final question of what is your ideal payoff to all of this? Like, what do you think is going to happen? But I don't even know if like that can be kind of feasible right now. But the ideal sort of payoff to this whole thing, what is that for you, Jensen?
I don't know. I mean, whatever young up and coming talent that AEW really wants to start heavily pushing that, and preferably somebody that's more of an unknown, somebody that like we have. Hook. I'll just say it. I want to see more out of Hook. Like I do. Like, I mean, we're getting real excited after a couple appearances, but like what we've seen, and if they can protect him the right way and he can learn on the job, very similar to what I think they're kind of doing with Jade Cargill with the TBS title in that tournament. Like she's out there learning on the job, like, which I'm totally fine with because you're also not like clogging up like the world title scene while people are, learning on the job essentially. And, So I'd say like if I had to pick one person, given like the buzz right now and kind of the unknown, and maybe making like a real star out of a brand new person, I'd probably say Hook.
Me personally, I think that I would have Cody lose it in an open challenge, and I would use that to do the full term where he feels like the audience doesn't appreciate what he was putting on the line in those open challenges, you know? And then you have him start cutting those promos like, look, I give you guys Eddie Kingston, Ricky Starks. And then how easy is it for him to say that in one promo and have King come out there and be like, you give him what? What's he got to do with you, right? Like, that's my mindset on it is this would be a really great time. And there's a couple of free agents out there, like there's obvious names, right? Like Swerve would be my pick.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Like Swerve winning via cheating and Cody being like, you guys cheered this? Like I invited him through the front door and he screwed me. That's where I would go. But again, I'm very like my favorite version is where he ends up as a clear-cut heel. You know, I'm very old-fashioned with that sense. So, SP3, what do you think your ideal destination for this deal?
I think we've all said like kind of directions that it can go. Like I think Jensen mentioned, like kind of forcing his hand to challenge for the AEW World Championship. Like I thought an interesting story would be like Hangman gets like beats a whole bunch of challengers and the only person left is the TNT champion Cody Rhodes, and he challenges Cody and Cody is kind of forced into having it, and that's the way he finally wins with like the pedigree or something. Like yeah, this story kind of has to end with two things. It has to end with Cody firmly becoming this heel character that he's kind of been building up to, and a future star being put over and elevated in the process. And I'm totally with Jensen on Hook. I've been a fan of Hook. I mean, I call him Tyler because we personally have hung out, but y'all can call him Hook. I'm the number one hooker out on these streets because we are personal friends ever since Minneapolis. And I want to see, and it would be the ultimate payoff because people don't kind of forget that Hook was introduced by Cody Rhodes.
Yep,
that's the payoff. That's because everybody, I heard like a couple of months after that segment with Cody and Taz where Hook was introduced, they was like, oh, they really didn't pay off that. The long-term payoff, the thing why people say let it play out and it's not facetiously like WWE with AEW is that it always seems to pay off. It always seems to play out the way we expect it to, and things, they listen to us. If we see it going in a different direction, they kind of pay it off for us and listen to us. The Nightmare Collective didn't work. That was gone. The Dark Order segment that they jumped the Young Bucks and SCU failed. They changed it up completely, brought Brody Lee in, and it became one of the most popular groups. There is time after time and example after example of AEW listening to his fans or fans telling other people, let it play out. And it did play out and it did come to where we needed it to be. And I think that that's what people need to be with this whole Cody Rhodes storyline right now.
Very sad about my lack of wrestler friends on this show, you know? Jensen, you were going to have some final comments. Go ahead, pal.
I was just going to say... Wait.
What?
I'm not given my ideal scenario.
But you just asked, though. Like, sometimes when you play question master, probably you have to...
Okay.
Come
on here, Joseph. The Hook thing is a good point. They did the tease like after Rampage that aired for the live crowd that people have done. And he did bring in like Hook. I think it's way too early. I love Hook, but way too early to just have him beat Cody Rhodes.
You're a hater.
Hook hater.
I think he gets a group. I think that's where this goes. I think he gets a heel group and
Buddy Matthews.
One day it'll happen.
And Roddy Strong.
See a scenario. Yeah, that'd be sick. Yeah, I know you'd be happy about that, Joseph. A scenario that could work out really well for heel Cody is if he does a 4 horseman type group and MJF is in his group. And MJF says, hey, now that we're buddies, let's lift that stipulation when I beat you for that. And it's like MJF's the reason Cody can get a title shot. Like, that'd be so much heat. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always been an interesting one, right? Them two being in that group.
Yeah. I love the two of them together. Roller coaster. That stuff's hilarious. the last thing I was going to say, though, just a minute ago, and it's a little off topic now, but y'all were talking about kind of like us getting this stuff, the inside baseball type stuff, and like the casual viewer might not, and the WWE viewer that only tunes in AEW sometimes might not. I'll be honest, like and this might sound insensitive, I don't care about the casual viewer.
Right, no,
I don't care about the WWE. You know what I mean? I don't. Like, it's just one of those things where like if you don't watch the show and you jump on and watch it one week and you're all outraged about the stuff you see, like you're not like, I mean, I hope you stick around. I hope you watch the show and enjoy it. But like, you know, there's so many different companies at this point that like you can, it's so a la carte at this point. You can literally just, whatever you like in wrestling, go find your company and the style and the wrestlers that you like. They're all over the place. So AEW just happens to be something that I think does a really good job of feeding what I like as a wrestling fan.
Yeah. No, I get that. That's very, very fair. Well, this was the Cody Rhodes. I want to say quickly here, and I'm not trying to put us over anything. I want to do a lot more shows of this ilk here as we head into 2022. Those of you may know, like I'm trying to be inactive on social because I really think, guys, there's a problem. You know, there's so many accounts that are dedicated to bad takes that we're at a point where every take gets put in like one box or the other. Like, this is a terrible take made in bad faith. This is the correct uniform opinion. That's cool for Twitter. For shows like this, that's real bad. And I've been guilty of that. Like, that's a thing that we need to avoid. And it doesn't mean we're going to come on here and shout at each other like we're Skip and Stephen A. Like, that was never the intention of this show. I wanted to talk it out. I didn't have a conclusion. You know, I feel like I'm closer to it now. So I appreciate you guys joining me. Jeremy, obviously, us, I should say, right? When did I text you about this, Jeremy? I was fired up, right? Was that Christmas? Please tell me that wasn't Christmas.
Hold on. Let me look back through our text messages.
Okay. While you're looking, Leland in the chat says the stipulation for the title shot was Cody losing to Jericho. That's true, but MJF cost Cody.
He threw in the towel.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, you're correct. That's fair. While Jeremy looks that up, let's do some promotions here, guys. SP3, put yourself over, pal, all that good stuff. Go ahead.
I want to thank you guys for inviting me on, and I felt like I was going to therapy for all my long storied hatred for Cody Rhodes. This was very uplifting. I appreciate Joe for inviting me, and you guys welcome me on. Hanging out with Jensen before Friday is very nice as well. But you can find me over on the Twitter machine at TrueHeelSP3. You can follow the YouTube channel True Heel Heat. Consistent quality content over there for the rest of the week. We'll be having top 10s for the end of the year, end of 2021. Later on tonight, 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time, we got NX3 reviewing WWE NXT 2.0. You won't see me because I don't pay myself enough to review NXT on my own channel. So check out Romeo and Chris G over there. And, of course, me and Jensen every Friday on Degrassi Dudes, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on the True Hill Heat and Fight Talk _ Twitch channels.
Stephen Jensen, you're one of the great self-promoters I've come across in my time. So go ahead, pal. Hit the high spots. Go ahead.
Well, if y'all want to follow me on Twitter, it's FightTalk _ FIGHTTALK _. If you want to watch some independent pro wrestling, go to IWTV.live or independentwrestling.tv. 2 ways to get to the same place. Use code FightTalk in the promo code spot, FIGHTTALK. All is one word, no spaces. Helps me out when y'all do that. Check out the Fightful Select Weekender podcast. It's every Sunday on the FightfulSelect.com. I always talk independent wrestling and a whole bunch of other stuff. I even cover 205 Live and NXT UK for those of you who want to know a little bit of what I think about something that WWE does. That's, you know, on the $5 tier, a whole bunch of stuff along with that. Alex Blassie, Sour Graps, all the news from Sean Ross Sapp, stuff from Jimmy Van, a whole bunch of stuff over there. FightfulSelect.com. As SP3 said, Degrassi Dudes, every Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking more stuff soon, too. We're going to be doing a My Brother and Me watch along. We're going to be doing, we might watch some like Nick Arcade and like Guts and stuff. We're going to go old school and watch a lot of these old shows.
I've been getting him into the challenge as well. I've been telling him about All Stars, Jeremy. So he's interested now.
I'm interested. I'm interested. So yeah, all that stuff. I got a show tonight, Live Rounds with Doug. We'll be doing that on the RVD Tito for Life YouTube channel at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. We usually go for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And we'll be talking a lot more about Cody and some year-end stuff. That was the weekender this past week was 2021 awards. So if you want to know my awards for this year, that's where to go. So see ya. Thanks for having me on again, guys.
Tremendous. And you know what he does too, without even realizing it? He sets me up for my plug. Just an incredible pro, man. A great hand. Speaking of awards, latenightgrin.com, the Golden Grinnies are tomorrow night. There's going to be some guests, you know, people giving out awards. We've got some videos coming in. It's going to be fun. There are 27 awards that we decided live on the air. They include titles such as the Cowboy Hat of the Year, the Codyverse Wrestler of the Year, many others of that variety, sign up, latenightgreen.com. That'll be tomorrow. It'll be about 4 hours after AEW Dynamite. So it'll be quite the event. Dress up and all that good stuff. You'll have a great time. Other than that, I'm good. Jeremy?
Let me finish up some super chats here.
Oh, yes.
And it says at the start of the pandemic, Cody was a hero. What do you guys think triggered the Dan backlash?
I think the A Go program, right? I think the current AEW audience didn't like the kind of patriotic slant that he put, and that was very dusty, right? And just the audience is different now. That's that is what it is.
Jay Blood said he's a heel, working the smart fan base by assisting. He's a good guy while doing everything he can to get the cadre of fan to hate him. And Jay Blood also says Cody will evolve into the big bad when the amount of hate he gets will become too much for his ego. He'll thank the audience for making it happen.
Jay Blood should be on this show in my spot. He's much more insightful than I was tonight.
Those are the super chats, guys. Thank you for the super chats. Thanks for showing out for this one. We had really good turnout for this. Joseph, you messaged me on Sunday at 7 a.m. my time.
That'd be 2 a.m. my time, right? That tracks.
And just said we need to do a Cody roundtable at some point. And my only reply was "My God," and then we were just
Joseph. That was to say Joseph message. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Joseph messaged me, all hail. If it's cool with you, we'll be doing something a little different, like Cody Rhodes Roundtable. And I said, this is very cool with me. And then that was
Did you hear Alex Palowski's tale of how I hit him up for a guest spot once? Where I messaged like 5 minutes before he went on the air for the NXT show. I just put Alex Palowski all caps like that with no follow up, and he was like, yes. I was like, yeah, I want you to be on the distraction. He's like, okay, is there any reason you put my name in all caps before you did it? I was like, no, it just was like the right way to set it up. Anyway, all hell, you heard the man. All hell.
O'Neal messaged me yesterday because usually this is the ROH show, and O'Neal's like, "Are we doing the ROH show tomorrow?" And I said, "No, we're doing a Cody roundtable. It's myself, Joseph, Jensen, SP3. You're not here because of your association with the Nightmare family."
Yes.
And he's like, "Oh, that's fair." So
also,
that is why O'Neal is
controversial opinions on the vaccine. He. Speaking of such, tune into the Golden Grinnies to find out who won Bob's Bootlicker of the Year. Live, post Dynamite, latenightgreen.com. There you go.
Guys, tomorrow we'll be back on the channel at 6:30. Jay Shell from Body Slam is going to be joining Joseph and I. We allegedly say we preview AEW. Really, we just have conversations about shit that we want to have conversations about. There's no AEW conversation unless we feel like it. Distraction Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. We're doing that. Twitch.tv/Fightful Gaming. Again, guys, appreciate all the support and everything going on. Hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas, since I believe this is our first show since Christmas. So I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas, and I hope everyone has a Happy New Year. Continue to check us out during the week. Again, thanks guys. Thanks Joseph for this idea. I'm sure we'll be bringing it back because it was tremendous. So we'll talk to y'all